So Brandon Beane of the Buffalo Bills, the general manager for the Buffalo Bills, he was talking with the media yesterday, and they were asking him just about the situation in Cincinnati as opposed to Buffalo. And, I don't know if anybody saw, but Brandon Beane's the general manager of a team that got their asses handed to him at home last weekend by the Cincinnati Bengals. And so they asked him about their situation moving forward, the salary cap, et cetera, et cetera. And here was the Bills GM talking about those Cincinnati Bengals.
They right now are on the advantage of a rookie quarterback contract. And they had some lean years without getting too much into their build. And I don't want to suck bad enough to have to get Jamar Chase. Like, he's a heck of a talent. I'd love to have him, but you gotta go through some lean years to do that. And they were able to get Burrow 1, and I don't remember where Chase was drafted, but it was pretty high. And those guys are on their rookie deals. We're paying Stephon Diggs a pretty hefty number. We're paying Josh Allen a pretty hefty number. So there is the constraints of the cap.
So there's Brandon
that was
Beane.
kind of like a backhanded compliment. Like super backhanded, right?
It's true, though.
I was going to ask, man, I feel like
we ain't going to suck like them to be able to be good in the future.
Do you take that as an excuse? Like, is that him making an excuse about it?
It's an excuse. It's a slight. It sounds a little salty. You're a little salty. We're paying this hefty number while they're on rookie contracts, and it's only because we don't suck as bad as they did.
Yeah, but that's your fault. You didn't. Do you take advantage of those rookie contracts when you had a chance?
Maybe you needed to suck good enough to be able to get Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I mean, by Flores and Hugh Jackson and a few other maybe people's accounts. I mean, some people try to do that.
I mean,
all right, moving on.
All right, my bad.
I mean,
it was an easy layup. It was easy.
The Bills were never as bad as the Bengals were during that stretch because Josh Allen was pick 7, and I think did they move up for him or maybe that was Josh? Who cares? But they were never that bad like Cincinnati was during that stretch. But they didn't have to go out and trade what they did for Stephon Diggs and then pay him all that money. That was their choice, and now they've paid Josh Allen. Isn't this kind of on Buffalo that they didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had to get to a Super Bowl while Josh Allen was still on his rookie deal?
Sure.
Already paid him.
And sometimes you're not going to be lucky enough where it's going to work out that way, right? Everyone wants to go back to the overtime versus Kansas City and how those rules worked out. Look, if they played some defense too down the stretch there, I don't think they'd be complaining about this. The other thing is, I think when you talk about how you allocate your cap, okay, so you've got a quarterback and a wide receiver who you're spending a bunch of money on. Go hit with the rest of your picks. Go hit with all the other draft picks then on defense and up front, on the offensive line and other spots. Like, that's the reality of it is as much as you want to make it about, oh, look who we're paying, there's a lot of teams who are in that position. I mean, do you make that same excuse about the Kansas City Chiefs? Don't they have a quarterback right now that's going to win the MVP that's still playing, that's not on his rookie contract? Don't they have a tight end that's not on his rookie contract? I mean, you start kind of combing through how the Chiefs orchestrate and handle their roster. They seem to be able to make it work. I mean, I feel like, as much as there's some truth to it, there's also an element of they didn't achieve what they needed to achieve. They're the Super Bowl favorites. They didn't get there this year. That's okay. But I think anyone who watched them this year, and I kept saying this phrase all year long, in order for them to win games, Josh Allen had to play like Superman every single week. It was like a running back by committee, and then it was like Josh Allen probably leading the way. Did Josh Allen lead him in rushing yards this past week too?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's like he literally had to play that way every single week. And Stephon Diggs is by far and away their number one. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. You take him away, what else do they have? Not as much. It's not that complicated with that team. Defensively, the Von Miller injury, that one hurt them, I think, as much as anything. Their secondary is banged up this year. There's a lot of things you could point to for the lack of success. The bottom line is, though, they didn't achieve what they needed to. And that's why he's got to, answer that question and have to deal with the reporters who are now feeling that way or asking those questions about it.
By the way, Josh Allen narrowly beat out Devin Singletary for the rushing championship in that game against the Bengals. He had 26 yards. Devin Singletary had 24. So
on how many carries?
8 for Josh Allen, 6 for Devin Singletary.
Interesting.
So 19 carries, 63 yards. I feel like that probably could have been addressed in the draft. Wasn't James Cook also
they
a
took
draft
James
pick?
Cook. They just haven't been using him.
Yeah. So, but listen, it's all on the Bengals and their rookie salary cap. That's how it goes. I mean, you know the rules.
Well, and I think if you're the Bengals, you've seen Joe Burrow now. What is this, year 3 for him?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you now pick up his 5th-year option, but that's irrelevant. I would be trying to get him to an extension right now. I'd be doing everything I could to get him assigned a big extension right now.
Because that price is going to go up by the year.
Hell
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone else to be able to do a deal and have to surpass that. So I would do that deal as soon as I could. As soon as the season ends,
All right,
I would deal with this.
Let me ask you this. Because of everything that's going on with Lamar Jackson, if you're Joe Burrow, do you wait? Even if Cincinnati comes in, unless they offer you something that it's just a can't say no contract, do you wait until you see what happens with Lamar Jackson?
Well, the team may feel like they want to wait and see, right? Because they don't want to set the precedent of, being a team that signs their quarterback to a deal and then Lamar is able to surpass them and signs a better deal. Or, again, no one's going to touch the Deshaun Watson contract. I'd be shocked if they did. Burrow might be the one that makes a lot of sense for that, though. Like, if you were going to, he's the one that I feel like the way he's playing, the way he's been since he's come into the league, and everything they've got tied up in him, he'd be a guy that I would look at giving that sort of deal to. But I don't think if you're the Bengals, though, you want to wait and you want to risk potentially having to deal with that down the road. I think you pay, and they're going to have to restructure. I shouldn't say restructure. They're going to have to change the way they've paid out most contracts because they don't pay out a lot of cash, and they're going to have to unless they hamstring themselves for the foreseeable future because of how much they'd have to put into a salary.
Isn't this part of the reason why they got a naming rights deal for the stadium so they could bring in more cash?
More cash flow. I mean, they'll continue to keep exercising ways of doing stuff.
I mean, you got to set up just a sports book. Just throw a sports book.
Well, that's
there.
why Ohio, you can gamble now. In the state of Ohio. It started January 1 this year. If I was them, I would be searching so hard for a big-time sponsorship to bring in even more cash flow. And that's essentially going to go right in Joe Burrow's pocket this offseason. It should. And then Jamar Chase the following year.
Man, that's awesome. Good for that. Yeah, just bring in a sports book. Just build a sports book so these guys can get paid.